What celebrity tanked their own career and what's the story behind it? Rick Morinis, the guy from Ghostbusters, Honey I Shrunk the Kids, Spaceballs, etc. Not because he did anything wrong. He left Hollywood and let his career die because his wife died from cancer and he decided to focus on raising his kids. Stand up guy. Hope he's doing well. Katherine Heigl is famous for being a massive itch who no one wants to work with. I think she managed to piss off everyone in Grey's Anatomy, so they wrote her character off. Same with the entire cast of Knocked Up. She went from being huge in 2007-08 to being a ghost now. Mel Gibson famously torpedoed his career in 2004 to 2006 with multiple anti-Semitic and racist outbursts and such. He went from being a massive ducking star in the 90s to being persona non grata for like 10 plus years. He's still not back to where he was now. Lauryn Hill has famously destroyed her career since the early 2000s. After the Fugees made it big, she went solo with one of the biggest debut albums ever, and then frequent diva behavior has made her the ultimate has-been. Definitely the judges who bullied the contestant on X Factor New Zealand. Michael Richards played one of the most iconic TV comedy roles as Kramer on Seinfeld. Post-Seinfeld, during a stand-up routine, fans were taunting him and he went on a racially charged rant dropping the N-word. It was recorded and his career was absolutely toast after that. TJ Miller. Dude had a brain tumor removed a while back, taking out part of his brain, and then he got arrested for calling in a fake bomb threat in 2018. Absolutely nuked his career. Jerry Lee Lewis, arguably one of the founders of rock and roll, managed to completely destroy his career just by getting married. OBTW, he married his first cousin, once removed. She was 13. He was 22. It was his third marriage, of an eventual 7. This one lasted 13 years until she filed for divorce, citing that she had been subject to every type of physical and mental abuse imaginable. Unfortunately, not Chris Brown. Amanda Bynes. She had an early success in her acting career and retired at age 24 because she had a downward spiral. Entirely fell off the entertainment industry. It may have already been said in here, but Macaulay Culkin, Home Alone, and honestly I think it's a good story. He was just tired of being a child star and wanted a normal life. While some people make fun of how he looks now, he's just living life and having fun. He has a band called Pizza Underground where they sing about pizza and tell jokes. I just think it's good to see some of the celebrities that tanked, but for good reasons. I'm surprised nobody has mentioned the Dixie Chicks getting themselves basically blacklisted from country music after criticizing Bush. CeeLo. He said there was nothing wrong with spiking women's drinks. Chevy Chase. The man has had endless opportunities on both movies and TV, and yet he is consistently regarded by his peers as an unrelenting asshole. SNL cast hates working with and around him. Jon Lovitz, Will Ferrell, etc. The kids from Community, well, adult actors and actresses who played college kids on the show, have come out and said he was the hardest on set to work with. I just don't see how someone can have so many opportunities to be at least halfway decent, and always managed to find a way to be the biggest asshole in whatever room he was in. Kyle Larson was having a great year in NASCAR, and continuing that through their recent virtual racing bit because of the virus. But then he dropped a hard R on a live mic during a stream, and after being released from his contract, he's effectively done racing NASCAR now. Orlando Brown turned crackhead former Disney star. Taylor Lautner. He disappeared off the face of the planet after Twilight. Amber Heard for being an abusive spouse and lying by making Johnny Depp look like the abuser in this relationship. I don't understand how someone so evil and hypocrite can sleep at night. Can't believe no one has said Azealia Banks yet. 212 was like audacious, groundbreaking it. Sadly, she is known for her numerous Twitter spats rather than her music. I personally feel like she might have EUPD, which went untreated. Combine that with growing up in the spotlight and having an online platform to be very reactive on, and arguments ensued. But like, could 212 have been written by a medicated Banks? I don't know. It's a very unique, ballsy song. Sinead O'Connor ripped up a photo of the Pope on Saturday Night Live. Here's the performance with photo ripping at the 3-minute mark. Completely ruined her career, but in all honesty, she probably would have killed her career in another way if it never happened, as she's had several controversial moments in her lifetime. She still makes music and is incredibly talented, as this performance showcases. But unfortunately her career has never been the same as a result of her controversial views actions. I say unfortunately by meaning the world misses out on the music produced by incredibly talented and passionate musicians. Some of the things she said is pretty messed up though. Paul Rubens, aka Pee Wee Herman, the wholesome fun for the whole family entertainer. He was caught fapping in a porno cinema back in the day when they had porno cinemas. Why did he not get porno videos like everyone else back then, before the internet? Aaron Carter made a threat to kill brother and sister-in-law, which resulted in a restraining order. Got a huge face tattoo. Also got a woman's name tattooed on his eyebrow. Sends his revolving door of cam girly exes to jail, claiming they assaulted him. Was posting pregnancy pic with one girl Monday. Had a new GF by Wednesday. Suspect drug use. Gold. Monique. She refused to participate in campaigning for an Oscar after she was nominated for her role in Precious. It started a feud of sorts with the director, Lee Daniels, which led to her being blackballed. Or so she claims. She hasn't really worked again since winning an Oscar, which is pretty odd. Jared from Subway 4, you know. T.I. when he decided to take to the news and say that he has his daughter's gynecologist perform a virginity test, or assure him of her virginity, each time he takes her there. This was when his daughter was 18. Elizabeth Berkley killed her career with Showgirls. No one could take her seriously after that. Lena Dunham, and she dragged quite a bit of girls cast down with her. Drugs, hard time getting other gigs, etc. Girl basically had a career funded and served to her on a silver platter, and couldn't keep her mouth shut, be self-aware for 2 seconds at a time, or stay away from drugs. She's Hannah Horvath in real life. She literally wrote and played herself. I don't think she anticipated people thinking it was parody or cringe humor. I think she just went along with it and slowly it ate away at her. We're all aware of Charlie Sheen. Although still a legend, topped the cake of ruining it all within a brief moment. He couldn't keep his D in his pants, and his addiction spiraled quick. Mara Wilson, although, to be fair, she didn't tank her own career. She was a cute kid and a very successful child actress, but she grew up looking like an average person, instead of someone who could be cast as a sex symbol, and just stopped getting work. So she got a college degree at NYU, and I think she does smaller stuff, voiceovers, podcasts like Night Vale, had a small part on Broad City. She writes, basically, and she wrote a great piece about child stardom and what a minbuck it is, not just on her behalf, but looking at people like Amanda Bynes. She tweets, she's written great pieces about child stardom, and she's just an awesome person. She wrote an autobiography I have yet to read, but it's amazing to hear a child star write so candidly about having to give up on film, not because of bad choices or self-indulgence, but because they got tired of being cast as the fat ugly friend. It's sobering stuff. Kevin Spacey. He was raping underage boys long ago, and it came back to bite him in the ass when one of his victims stepped forward and accused him of the crime. Since then I don't think he's been in a show or movie, and one of his shows on Netflix was cancelled, I believe. Roseanne Barr. She managed to live through her Anthem fiasco only to have her reboot cancelled and replaced due to some racist tweets. I haven't heard much about the replacement show, but I feel like that means it isn't or wasn't doing so hot. Fatty Arbuckle comes to mind. He was a highly successful comedian actor known in Hollywood for his physical comedy throughout the 1910s. Sort of like the original Curly from the Three Stooges or Chris Farley type. Near the end of the decade he was offered an exclusive contract for some outrageous sum of money. In 1921 he and a couple friends were in a hotel and a woman was seen entering his hotel room. A couple days later, she died of a ruptured bladder, and Arbuckle was accused of raping and killing her, blaming his body weight for the ruptured bladder. Anyway, it was a huge scandal involving and going through several trials. His career never really recovered. Edit. To clarify, he was accused and not actually guilty. The accusations, however unfounded, are what killed his career, though. Lance Armstrong, the cyclist. He cheated for all of his Tour de France titles. He is now enlisted as a cheater, Nuff said. David Icke in 1991. He was a household name, ex-Coventry goalkeeper, BBC Sports commentator, and The Terry Wogan Show, in full view of the nation. Believes he is the son of God and that the world will soon be obliterated by earthquakes and tsunami. Taken in by a Russian forgery. The Protocols of the Elders of Zion, itself no more than a criticism of Napoleon III with the names clumsily altered to refer to the Jews instead of Napoleon III. He believed that a secret group of alien reptilian humanoids called the Babylonian Brotherhood created and controls humanity, and that many prominent figures are reptilian, including George W. Bush, Queen Elizabeth II, Chris Christopherson, and Boxcar Willie. In recent years he has degenerated into little more than an anti-Semitic neo-Nazi. Steve Renazzisi lied about being in the World Trade Center on 9/11. Also, Jan Michael Vincent was a super good looking actor in the 80s that got a little too into drugs. How is Andy D not at the top of this list? Shia LaBeouf. He went a little nutty about 6 years ago, but I think he is climbing back up again. Martin Lawrence went nutty and was in the street pointing guns at people. He's better now. Michael Richards. After Seinfeld had a meltdown on stage and no one will hire him again. Jennifer Grey. She was the unconventionally cute lead from Dirty Dancing, which was a huge hit. She was set to be a breakout star, but she fixed her nose and became just another interchangeable young actress. Kid who played Anakin drove into a cop car at 100 miles per hour. Obviously he got arrested. Troy Duffy, director of Boondock Saints. Basically, his arrogance tanked his career. Troy Duffy was portrayed in the film as an egomaniacal maniac, obsessed with the heights of his talent and abusive to his friends. He goes on to lose his mega deal with Harvey Weinstein, his friends, and his Hollywood connections. Left square bracket. Elon Musk. He's doing it right now by weed and his insane tweets. I don't know if he thanked his career or not, but Funky Muniz kinda disappeared after Malcolm in the Middle. Courtney Love. In addition to being the front woman of Heigl, she acted until she called out Harvey Weinstein. If Harvey Weinstein invites you to a private party at the Four Seasons, don't go. After being asked if she had any advice for young actress just getting started. Surprised no one said Harvey Weinstein. If Logan Paul counts, him. I'm sure someone has said this already, but Chris Taylor Brown from the band Trapped. He isn't exactly a celebrity, rather a guy who had one hit song 18 years ago, Headstrong. He's been going on this weird rampage of tweets lashing out at people who don't like him and his opinions and flexing the amount of listeners he gets on Pandora. It's surreal. Ari Schaffer made fun of Kobe Bryant after he died, and now people like Joe Rogan and Tom Segura are keeping distance. I don't know if he's a celebrity. I thought of Roman Polanski. He can't work or live in the US due to a sex abuse case. He can't direct movies in the US. He was married to the actress Sharon Tate. R.I.P. Sharon. Johnny Rotten appeared on the BBC doing an interview and made unsubstantiated rumors about one of the BBC's most popular talent being a pedophile. Booted off the BBC decades later after his death. It turns out that Jimmy Savile totally was massive pedophile among other things. Ezra Miller was gaining popularity recently, but then he got in a physical fight with a fan, and now I can't say I see him being able to do much in Hollywood after that. Justin Lee Collins. For those who don't know, he was a comedian in the UK. He was known for doing the Friday Night Project with Alan Carr and presented in America's Home Videos type show, Oops TV. In 2011 his wife came out about him abusing her. She also had some audio of him accusing her of looking at other men. He pleaded guilty and hasn't done any big things since. Last I heard he's doing video shoutouts for You Are Cute 25. Link to the audio. Ian Watkins, singer of Lost Prophets. If I remember correctly, Brendan Fraser stopped acting because of his ex-wife. A stipulation of their divorce basically meant the lion's share of whatever he earned went to her, but if he earned under a certain amount he got to keep enough to live off of, so he just stopped acting. Ray Finkle couldn't accept personal responsibility about the laces. Jamie Lynn Spears. This wasn't her fault, but it would have been a little awkward for Nickelodeon to have a pregnant teenager on TV in the mid 2000s. I was like 11 when this happened, so correct me if I'm wrong. Craig Kilborn had a late night show then left. What happened to him? Stephen Collins, dad from Seventh Heaven. Bruce Mathis on Always Sunny. Captain Decker in Star Trek I. Let's just say he's not going to Seventh Heaven. I have a theory that Tom Cruise was just pretending to be insane early 2000s. He did more press junkets he's ever done before. Ever. Even during movie promotions. He was legit insane. And behaved strangely. Even for a Scientologist. Everything you see before and after is pretty normal. He gets dropped from Paramount and goes to work immediately on making his own studio. My theory is he was unhappy with Paramount because he wasn't making the movies he wanted to make. Found a way out and executed it flawlessly. Tom Cruise built a career, tanked his career, only to build it again. That's my theory. Jason Biggs. All it took was a couple of tweets. I'm surprised I haven't seen anyone mention Antonio Brown. Guy went from being regarded as one of best players in the NFL to arguably the biggest cancer the league has ever seen. So much that it cost him his job on multiple teams. And that's just putting it simply. Not sure if this counts, but the first thing that came to mind is John Kricfalusi, or John K., the guy who created Ren and Stimpy and voiced Ren. I'll admit I don't fully know how he was on set, but he was reported to be an asshole all around. And of course the sex abuse scandal he was involved in. He's not going to recover from that. Jamie Kennedy, Randy from Scream, after switching to stand-up comedy and having multiple on stage and online freakouts, hasn't done anything noteworthy since. Suzanne Summers. She was slated to be the next Farrah Fawcett. She got greedy on Three's Company and demanded a huge pay raise and at the same time fired her manager. Due to this she had to finish out her contract on the show separately from the others. You can see in the show she goes to visit a relative and makes a brief phone conversation to check in for the remaining shows. She was fired and actually blacklisted, so not many people would hire her. At one point she was briefly on another sitcom and got sued because she mimicked the Chrissy character, saying she stole their intellectual property. Later Suzanne did the Thigh Master and her shows in Vegas, but she could have been great. There was a made-for-TV movie about this in the early 2000s, maybe on Lifetime. And this is where I got my info, so take this with a grain of salt. Joe Amara and Jade Goody. Amara was an incredible singer, part of pop group S Club 7 as a teen. I don't think it would be unfair to call her the lead singer. Goody first got famous through Big Brother in 2002 and built herself a pretty lucrative career and business. They entered the same series of UK celebrity Big Brother in 2007, got friendly and ended up part of a gang who bullied Indian actress Shilpa Shetty with racist taunts. Amara lost a lot, but Goody was far more well known at that point and got dropped like a hot potato from several deals. She went on the Indian version of Big Brother in an attempt to mend her reputation both there and at home, but had to drop out after the results of a test taken before she left home showed that she had cervical cancer. It was terminal. She died in 2009, age 27. Joe Amara appeared in my hometown at Pride 2 years ago, playing to a crowd of about 100. Bit different from her days at O2 Arena. I can't believe Randy Quaid hasn't been mentioned. Too much for me to post, try here. Steve Yoo Seung-Jun Irons was a Korean artist who was super popular from 1997 to 2002. He was amazing at his singing, dancing, and rapping, but he was also popular to parents who believed he was a good role model. He was born in South Korea but moved to the States when he was 13. He sent demo tapes of his performance and eventually was scouted and became an artist in Korea. Military service is mandatory for males in Korea, and he even went on TV saying he will be serving in the military, although having been in the process of US citizenship I believe. And when it came time for him to be drafted, He had scheduled performances outside of Korea, and he said he will immediately return to Korea for the military service. But, before returning to Korea, he went to the States and got his citizenship, meaning he is no longer a Korean citizen, and does not have to serve in the military. He has been banned from entering Korea since, but in 2019, he has been allowed to visit South Korea. Here's a YouTube video explaining in detail. Nicolas Cage to an extent. He literally fell off because he bought so much dumb it. I think he bought like a dinosaur skull for millions of dollars among other things. This all made him broke, which caused him to start doing a ton of straight to DVD movies. This further caused him to fall off even more. Has anyone mentioned Megan Fox? From what I've read, Steven Spielberg basically blacklisted her in Hollywood. What about Jennifer Grey and her career-ending nose job? She later said it was one of the worst decisions she ever made. Aaron Hernandez killed someone while playing for the New England Patriots. Died in prison. Chris Benoit killed his wife, son, then himself. Had his entire wrestling legacy ruined. Tom Green made Freddy Got Fingered. John Travolta made Battlefield Earth and The Fanatic. Alexander Hamilton. He was a damn genius and a respected and honest lawyer and politician, until he had an affair with another woman who was not his wife and made it public in a pamphlet called the Reynolds Pamphlet, ruining his political career forever.